What if Jordan was drafted by the Blazers? Like, think about that for a second. What if Michael Jordan went number 2 in the 1984 draft? Like, I get it. I understand that Hakeem was the consensus number 1 pick to go to Houston. But Sam Bowie hit number 2? On this journey, we're going to take a deep dive. We're going to go way back in time to the 1984 draft. And we're going to look at what if Michael Jordan actually went to the Portland Trailblazers? Like, how would that have changed the dynamics in the West? Or just the overall landscape of how we look at the NBA today? So on this journey, we're not only going to look back at the 1984 draft, but we're going to put a twist on it. Because tonight, ESPN is going to be doing an NBA 2K special with some of the current players. So I thought that on this journey, as we look back into this what-if scenario, let's add a little 2K twist to it. Let's put a little 2K flavor into the what-if scenario of what if Michael Jordan would have been drafted by the Blazers. Let's get into it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now in this journey, we're going to be discussing the what if scenario. What if Michael Jordan went number 2 instead of number 3 to the Blazers and not the Bulls? But before we get too far, if you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you. And listen, on this channel, you're going to be getting my passionate and unfiltered opinion on the hottest NBA and college basketball topics. I upload videos every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're a ballaholic just like me. The 1984 NBA draft is one of the top 3 drafts of all time. I mean, you had some of the greatest players in NBA history that came out of that class. You had Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, Sam Perkins, John Stockton, and of course, Michael Jordan. But in 1984, the Portland Trailblazers, who had this number 2 pick, they selected Sam Bowie out of Kentucky. Now, this was the same Sam Bowie that missed not 1, but 2 full seasons of college due to a fractured tibia. Now, I get it. Portland, they did draft guard Jim Paxson in 79, they drafted guard Fat Lever in 82, and then they drafted shooting guard out of Houston, Clyde Drexler in 1983. So many people believe that it was Portland's idea that they really wanted to go with the big man, and the 7-1 Sam Bowie would be the center of their future. But let's keep it real. Portland has had some of the worst luck when it comes to drafting big men in the first round. You remember Bill Walton in 74, Sam Bowie in 84, and even Greg Oden in 2007, they all dealt with career-altering injuries. But let's go back to the summer of 84, before the NBA draft. Portland, they were coming off of a 48-win season. Drexler was coming off of a rookie season where he only started 3 games. He averaged almost 8 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. So, though the talent was there, I mean, he really hadn't shown he was elite enough to be able to pass up Michael Jordan the next year in 84. Now, Portland did have Jim Paxson. He was the starting shooting guard who was coming off of back-to-back All-Star appearances, averaging 21 points a game. But let's be real. Nobody thought that Jim Paxson was good enough of a reason to be able to pass up on the great Michael Jordan. Keep in mind, Portland did have Klay Thompson's father, the 6'10 Michael Thompson, who was playing at center and averaging almost 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. So the question is, was the need for Sam Bowie that great? That serious where you passed up on Jordan? Michael Jordan? The same Michael Jordan who was coming off of being the consensus National Player of the Year, the consensus First Team All-American, and ACC Player of the Year, coached by legendary Dean Smith at the University of North Carolina. So let's just say, for instance, that Portland made the right choice and they actually drafted Jordan number 2. Keep in mind, Portland did trade Fat Lever and others away to Denver for Kiki Vandeweghe, who was a 6'8 stretch 4 power forward coming off of back-to-back All-Star appearances himself. So if you add Michael Jordan, right, who came into the NBA as a beast, came in dominating right away, to a 48-win Portland team that had Darnell Valentine at point guard who averaged 7 assists in 85. They had 6'6 All-Star guard Jim Paxson on the wing. If you put Michael Jordan on the other wing at 6'6 with the 6'8 power forward and Kiki Vandeweghe and a 6'10 center Michael Thompson, and you still have Clyde Drexler coming off the bench as a 6-man, that team would have been problems for the NBA. Let's remember this. Jordan took the 1984 Bulls in real life from a 27 wins to 38 wins in just his rookie year. So I could easily see that Portland team, as stacked as it would have been, that team would have gone from 48 wins to at least 55 wins, which would have been good enough for the number 2 seed in the tough Western Conference. Now, you do got to keep in mind, the Showtime Lakers, they were in full force in 1985. So, I'm going to be honest with you. I still think that the Lakers and the Blazers would have met, but it would have been in the Western Conference Finals with the Lakers still advancing to the finals, where they would have wound up beating the Boston Celtics just as they did in real life. I mean, that was Showtime Lakers. That was a whole different level of competition coming out of the West. But after a year or so, Clyde would eventually replace Paxson in that starting lineup, giving the Trailblazers a perimeter dynamic duo the NBA hadn't seen up to that point. So, though I think that Portland would have had more regular season success by drafting Jordan over Sam Bowie and even getting further in the playoffs than they did, the size advantage that the Lakers would have had with Kareem, I think would have been just too much until he really started to break down, which really happened around 1987 after the Lakers won that title. But let's go to 1988, because that was the year where Clyde really made his first All-NBA team, cementing himself as one of the top 10 players in the NBA. And as we know, in 1988, Michael Jordan took his game to a whole nother level, where he truly was special. He won All-Star MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, all in the same season. You put those two together on the same team? Listen, I don't think that Magic and Worthy, they would have been able to carry that Lakers past the Blazers in 1988. Now, we do have to remember that the Celtic dynasty, as dynamic as it was during the mid-80s, it ended in 1987. So I think that the 1988 title, it would have went to the Blazers. I think that the 1989 title, the 1990 title, 91, 92, and 93, I think all of those would have went to Portland. That's right, that's 6 in a row. Listen, timing is everything, and the Blazers would have squeezed the Pistons out of their 2 titles, and I think they would have stole one from the Lakers. So how long would this run have gone on? Well, we can't forget that after that 1992 finals, the Blazers signed point guard Rod Strickland. And that's what Portland and even Jordan never really played with, was an elite pass-first point guard like Rod. So with adding him and winning the title in 93, would that have been enough to stop Jordan from retiring after those 93 finals? I don't know, man. I doubt it. But you got to remember that Clyde was traded to Houston in 95. So with those 6 titles, would that have been it for that dynamic run with Clyde and Jordan as a 1-2 punch? I mean, who knows? But if Jordan had been drafted number 2 by Portland, I think he would have won 6 titles. But instead of having 2 separate three-peats as he did with the Bulls, I think with Portland, he would have won 6 straight. Ultimately, I believe that would have raised the legend of MJ. But what we don't know is how it would have played out after that 6 titles, after that 93 finals. If he would have returned to Portland in 95, let's say he stepped away from the game. If he did return to Portland in 95 as he did with Chicago, with Drexler gone to Houston, right, where they traded him for Otis Thorpe, I don't think the MJ would have won titles in 96, 97, and 98. Would Portland have been good enough, led by Jordan and Cliff Robinson and some of the other guys, Terry Porter, would that have been good enough? Who knows? I think what we have to do is we have to look at a different what-if scenario. So I think one thing we have to consider is, what if Jordan never retired? Like, we set up this what-if scenario what if he was drafted by Portland. But even with the Chicago Bulls, what if after winning the title in 93, after his father passed, what if Michael Jordan never left the game? That's what I'm going to do on my next episode. I'm going to do a video, a what-if series about Jordan and what if he never retired. So listen, make sure you click this playlist right here that I got for you, and also take a look at this video up top. Until next time, peace.